on, guys? Justin Fuller, ex-Honda salesman, tech lover, and today your host. And we're going to be reviewing the brand new 2025 Honda Civic Hybrid. Is it worth the money, and how does it stack up against other makes and models? We're going to figure out all that and more. So let's hop on in. Over some basics for the 2025 Honda Civic Hybrid. I just want you to understand the trims before we start jumping into the car. So in this vehicle now, there's an LX, that's your entry level. There is a Sport. Above that, there's a Sport Hybrid, and now there's a Sport Touring Hybrid. So we are today going to be in the top end model, that number 4, that most expensive, all the bells, all the whistles. So just want to make sure you understand that as we walk through this process. Let's talk about what's underneath the hood of the 2025 Honda Civic Hybrid. So you are looking at a 2-liter hybrid engine putting out 200 horsepower. Now, that is quite a bit in comparison to the standard Civic, which put out 150 horsepower. Now, I want to throw a comparison up on the screen so you can see how this car stacks up against other makes and models out in the world. While that's up, I'll just remind you, if you were looking at something like a Civic Si, I believe you're in the 200 to 204 horsepower range, so you can see how those stack up. Or if you went over to the Accord Hybrid, you're right around that 200 to 205 horsepower as well. So I find myself at probably one of the most important places of this vehicle, and that's the gas tank. So if you're looking at the Honda Civic Hybrid, chances are MPGs matter to you, right? So this car gets 50 in the city and 47 on the highway. So let's combine to 49 miles per gallon. That is pretty darn good. So I want to throw something up on the screen so you can see how does the 50 in the city and 47 on the highway stack up against other makes and models out in the world. While that's up, I'll just remind you of a couple things. If you went down to the non-hybrid Civic, you'd be looking at 31 in the city and 39 on the highway. So understand that is a big discrepancy. If you went over to the big sister, the Honda Accord Hybrid, you'd be looking at 46 in the city and 41 on the highway. So even there, you're not going to get quite as good gas mileage as you would in the Honda Civic Hybrid. So I want to talk to you about ground clearance on this car, but first off, I wanted to take a minute to stop and just give you a chance to look at the 18-inch alloy wheel that this vehicle has. It's actually a pretty clean look. You know, a lot of times I look at cars and think about changing it to an aftermarket wheel, but I'm not really mad at this wheel. So I'm going to throw something up on the screen so you can see how the 5 inches of ground clearance in the vehicle stacks against other makes and models out there in the world. While that's up, I'll just remind you, since there isn't a 2024, we don't really have anything to compare this to as far as the hybrid world goes. But if we're looking at a 2024 Honda Civic, that would be the exact same. Now, the 2025 Honda Civic Hybrid gets a 0 to 60 time of 6.2 seconds. Now, for comparison's sake, if you were looking at the standard Civic non-hybrid, you'd be looking at roughly 9.2 seconds. Or if you looked at the Accord, the standard Accord, 7.3 seconds, or the Accord Hybrid, 6.5 seconds. So when it comes to 0 to 60 times, this thing has got some juice. So let's see what that looks like. Yeah, we're up to 40, 50, and 60. This thing can move. So when they say a 0 to 60 time is 6.2 seconds, I definitely believe it. Really quickly, I want to do a couple things to help you out as far as if you're shopping for this vehicle. I want you to understand trim level differences. So right now we're in the Sport Touring Hybrid, right? So this is your top end model. $32,845 is what buys this car. I want you to understand, if I jump from this down one trim, so I would be jumping down to the Sport Hybrid, right? I want you to understand, 1, how much money is that going to save you? But 2, what is the list of items that you're about to give up to save that money? So I'm going to throw that up on the screen. Now, while that's up, I'll just remind you, those are the only 2 hybrid versions. The other jump would be if you went from the Sport Touring Hybrid, what we're in, skip over the Sport Hybrid and jump down to just the classic Sport. So that's next. Let's talk about that. If I jump down from this vehicle, down 2 trim levels to just the classic Sport, the non-hybrid version, how much money is that going to save me? And then what is that list of items that I'm going to give up, right? We already understand that that's no longer a hybrid. So I'm going from that like 50 in the city and 47 on the highway down to like 31 and 39. But what other items am I going to give up if I decide that I want to do that? Now I want to talk to you about the 9-inch touchscreen that exists on this car because they have added in quite a few new features. So display wise, it's set up, how it moves and kind of reacts is different too. It's also got some different sound effects that are kind of kooky, but I kind of like them. The first thing is, of course, it has Apple Carplay and Android Auto. It is a wireless setup, so know that you can take advantage of that. And you do have a wireless charger for your phone as well. Now, when you're working through here, they've got a maps button, so you can quickly jump in, get into this info and go from there instead of having to jump into Apple Carplay or Android Auto and then kind of get there. So I like that there's kind of a quick jump there as well. Additional features, you're gonna have Alexa in this vehicle along with the Google Assistant. So kind of cool, you can take advantage of those if you wanna ask questions, you need help with stuff, you wanna find things, know that you have those, and those are new. You would not see those in 2024 Honda Civics. One cool thing is you can connect up the Play Store. Now, this is kind of interesting to me because it doesn't give you the access to download any app that you want. If you want to do that, I've got something for you that I'll talk about in a little bit. But what it does do is it pulls up the Play Store and shows you apps that are available through Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, right? So they have that compatibility. Now, when you scroll across here, there's gonna be an additional menu that you can see here. Now, standard stuff that hasn't changed, you've got your vehicle settings here. This is where you can affect things like TPMS, driver assisted setup, keyless access setup. So this is things like, hey, you know, I want to turn the remote start system off or lockout prevention. I want to turn that off to where I can physically lock my keys inside of my car. So all of these are pretty standard, but what I will tell you is they clean this up. Now, some cool things that they have changed and added in here is gonna be like climate control settings, how they can apply to not only AC, but also the seats. So that's kind of a cool feature that's new. And then your individual settings. You'd find this in the all electric, the Prologue. But it's kind of nice. You can set up individual settings where you want to set up the car in a certain fashion. So if you wanted to be in sport mode, and then the steering, you want to be a little bit more sporty, or if you want it to be normal, you can come through here and kind of affect those things to where you have your own individual setting as far as the driving style of the vehicle for you. So other things that you're going to see here, power flow, this is just cool. In all of Honda's hybrids, they offer this to where it'll show you which mode you're driving in, whether it's purely electric, hybrid, or purely gas. So it's kind of nice to know when you're driving down the road, you can start to understand how your car works. Of course, if you want to plug in a USB, you can, and store music to that and listen to it. You can obviously access Bluetooth, all your normal things, your trip computer, pretty standard stuff here as far as the touchscreen goes. AM, FM, you can take advantage of those. System updates are done through Wi-Fi. This car does come with a Wi-Fi hotspot. I believe they give you 3 months free, and then you'd have to hit up AT&T to add that on. But in the demo mode, you can turn it on and take advantage of it. So pretty cool that you can use that. Of course, you have a clock and an interface here, just a basic setup. You can change to digital or an analog clock. Other things, Honda Link, they've added a couple things in here. It used to just be an app that you could download, and then you have all these subscription services you can take advantage of. Now they're actually providing you something in here to physically see, you know, as far as like connections, what you have connected and not, vehicle notifications as far as that. And this first one is just kind of a, hey, make sure you set this up kind of thing, right? Enroll in the app. They're starting to mature the process of what they're doing with Honda Link. So I think in the future, you're going to see this become more. Now, other things that are cool that they've added in here, now you can get to Google News. So kind of cool. It'll read off news stories to you and you can take advantage of that. Just a cool feature that exists in the car. It's kind of nice to have. And then your SMS text function, if you receive a text, it can present it and then of course read it aloud to you. So the touchscreen, they have upgraded the software that it's using. So it is a little bit smoother as far as how it works through things. And they have added in some additional features that didn't exist in the 2024 Honda Civic. If you want to be able to take advantage of things like, I don't know, YouTube TV, or maybe you want to take advantage of Netflix or Amazon Prime or Kodi, you don't have that available to you. Well, that's what you're seeing right here on the screen right now. So what I've done is I am using a box that allows me to take advantage of this. So you can see where I'm on YouTube TV right now. Or if I wanted to jump back out of this, right? I could go back to the homepage and go, hey, let's jump into a different app. Maybe I want to take advantage of something like Netflix. I can jump into that and take advantage of that. Now, the question is, how am I doing that? Now, this is not something direct through Honda that I'm taking advantage of. I'm using something through a company called CarLink Kit. So this is the CPC 200T box. This basically turns your head unit into a tablet or a phone, right? And for the sake of understanding what it is, this is what I'm using right here, right? So CarLink Kit, this is the UHD version, right? It does have an HDMI input on it if you wanted to take advantage of that. And you can see that's the model that I'm using. What's really cool about this thing is it unlocks your head unit. So not only can I take advantage of apps like Netflix, right? So if I wanted to be able to stream something, I absolutely could. But on top of that, what else that it does is it lets me to jump into apps that already exist on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but it gives me the full unlocked versions of them. So if I'm driving down the road, typically if I was driving, I would have to use the voice command search function. Now, we can all agree that voice command search functions don't always work that well. Sometimes it's just as easy to come in here and type in something, right? Now, once I'm in here, it's going to present this to me like it would on a laptop or a tablet. I'm going to get all of these things, right? So it's going to unlock the full potential of this app. All of its popular songs, its popular releases, its discography, everything. I get to take advantage of any app that I want. I can download anything I want from the Play Store, be able to use my streaming services, and take advantage of the full potential of all of my apps. So if you're interested in this, I'll of course throw in the description a link to this kit if it's something you're interested in buying. I'll also provide you my coupon code because I can save you some money on this item. So take advantage of it if you want. And if not, no big deal, but just know that this exists and it's out there. Let's talk about the front row of this vehicle. So in the front row of this vehicle, leg space wise, you've got 42.3 inches of leg space. It's actually quite a bit. That is the exact same leg space that you would find in the Honda Accord as well. So whether you jumped up to its big sister, the Honda Accord or Honda Accord Hybrid, you would have the exact same amount of leg space in the front row of this vehicle. Now, for the sake of testing this, I'm about 6 foot, 250 pounds, and I can get in this guy. And if I want to slide the seat all the way back and recline it, I have got plenty of room. I easily could have been another 4, 5, 6 inches taller and still had plenty of room to fit inside of this vehicle. So that's pushed all the way back, leaning my seat back. Now, while we're here, I want to throw a comparison up so you can understand how does the 42.3 inches of leg space in this vehicle stack up against other makes and models out there in the world. While that's up, I'll just remind you of a couple things. One, you are looking at leather interior because we are in the top end of this vehicle. So depending on the trim level of the vehicle, understand you're going to get cloth or leather, correct? And then of course you have got a 8-way powered seat on that side and a 4-way powered seat on this side. So understand as you jump between trims, you don't always get those things. So I'll throw some up on the screen as well. All right, guys, so here we are in the second row of this vehicle, and I want to talk to you about leg space. Now, of course, this vehicle does have leather interior in the back, and then I do have a flip down center console. The one thing I don't have back here, air vents. Now, this is a smaller car, but I don't know, man, when you're spending $32,845, I kind of want air vents in the back of the vehicle. So just something to keep in mind. But rear leg space, you've got 37.4 inches of leg space in the back of this vehicle. Now, with the seat pushed all the way back, I can fit behind myself. So as a 6 foot, 250 pound guy, can I sit behind someone who's got the seat pushed back accordingly? Absolutely, I can. If you're thinking, how does this stack up against other makes and models out in the world? I want to throw that comparison up on the screen. While that's up, I'll just remind you, hey, if you wanted to look at something outside of the Civic, but maybe you want to stay in the Honda family, the Accord offers 40.8 inches of leg space. So you could gain yourself 3 and some change as far as inches of leg space if you needed to. While that's up, I'll remind you, hey, if you drop down to a 2024, while there isn't a hybrid that exists, the 2024 Honda Civic has the exact same amount of space as far as leg space goes. So it'd be that same 37.4 inches as well. So I want to talk to you about cargo volume. It may not be the most important thing to you, but at some point you are going to need to use the trunk of this vehicle. So let's talk about that for a second. So in the trunk, you have got 14.8 cubic feet of cargo space in the back of this car. It's very usable, right? In previous gens, you know, hybrids would have this locked up where you couldn't fold down the back seat, and it was an issue. Now that is not the case. You got, of course, carpet floor mats that you can live back here. I can flip down. I've got a 60-40 split as far as throwing the seats down. The one thing that you won't find in here is going to be a spare tire. None of the Honda hybrids offer a spare tire. Instead, they offer a tire repair kit, which you can actually see. You may notice between the pump and the fix-a-flat that there's this funnel right here, and I want to explain what this guy is for. So if you ever ran out of gas on this vehicle, you would come over here, you'd pop this open, which this is connected to the door locks, just so you know. So there's not like the thing you have to pull anymore. And then you'd notice that this is capless. Now, if I needed to pour gas in and I don't have a gas can, I need a way to be able to hold this open. That is the function of this guy. So if you ran out of gas, you needed to hold it open because you didn't have a gas can and you were trying to pour gas in using a water bottle or something else, that is what this guy's for. Now, while we're back here, I will remind you, if this guy ever gets stuck, know that you can come back here, and I'm gonna move my bag out of the way here, and you can see there's this wire up here. There's a wire that you can pull if that ever gets stuck to be able to help you pop this bad boy open. So if you live in a colder climate and you notice that this guy gets stuck, know that you got some help there as far as getting this guy to pop. All right, guys, so we made it through the entire video on the 2025 Honda Civic Sport Touring Hybrid. So hopefully you enjoyed the video and the comparisons that I threw out there. I want to ask you for a couple favors. The first is simple. Can you press that like button for me? It just does me a favor. And it pushes this video a little bit higher up that algorithm in that search bar so other people will see it. Second, if you like what I'm doing, I hope you'll subscribe to the channel so that I can provide you additional videos. And third, I hope you leave a comment, man. If you like what you're seeing, you have some questions, or if there's something you wish I would add into my videos, please do let me know. 0 to 60 times is something I never used to add, and then a guy asked, I said, that's a great idea. We should start adding that. And now it exists. Fourth, I hope that you will share this video. If you got some friends that are looking at hybrids or looking at Hondas, or specifically the Honda Civic Hybrid, hopefully you'll share this video with them so they can see how does this car stack up against other makes and models out in the world, and then how does it compare to some of the other cars that are in the Honda family. Other than that, like, comment, subscribe, all the things. Later, guys!